From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger, and really I just want to tell you first and foremost about the tsunami warning that latest issued here, mainly for Del Norte County, and then we also have a tsunami advisory for basically heading southward into Humboldt County and of course northward into also Oregon as well. So those are things we'll be covering a little bit later here, but first I want to take you into our Krueger's Quick Cast and our headlines to start off, and then we'll get into the deeper dive and not only the tsunami but also of course the fires out there as well. So headlines, let's start off with that. Afternoon mountain thunderstorms continue this week with the potential for, unfortunately, new lightning-sparked fires. It has been and will be warmer for the rest of this week into the weekend, but still mainly below normal, believe it or not, for this time of the year. All right, so let's take a look at your Krueger's Quick Cast for your Wednesday, July 30th. Heading out the door this morning, it is going to be another mild start to the day. Temperatures in the low 70s. Now, you're noticing more clouds for some of the higher elevations. There actually may be a few showers for parts of the eastern mountains and even County through the morning hours, and then eventually those thunderstorms are really popping up here through the afternoon. The satellite image does show those thunderstorms popping up in the higher elevations yesterday afternoon. We're going to be looking at a repeat of that again here for today. So there you can see the areas in green has the best potential for thunderstorms. I think it's going a little bit too far to the west into Del Norte and Humboldt counties, but otherwise, and maybe even into the valley as well. With that said about the valley, we can't rule out a stray shower or even a thunderstorm possibly either this evening or even into tomorrow evening as well. But also there you can see the potential for dry lightning in the areas that we have kind of in that brown and that salmon color. So dry lightning is going to also be a concern, as we typically do see with these thunderstorms this time of the year. So remember I was mentioning those slight showers. You can see a disturbance kind of pushing through this morning. It could bring a few light showers here as we look at our HRRR forecast model. Now keep in mind this is a different model than we'll look at when we go into the deeper dive, and it'll be a little different. Quite honestly, I do like the solution of the in-house forecast model than what we're seeing here with the HRRR, but there will be that potential for showers east of the valley, and this could also include places like Modoc County as well. But then we go into the afternoon hours, those thunderstorms do begin to pop up. That'll be the case here this afternoon as well, and then by really even into the evening hours, those thunderstorms continue, especially in the mountains. But eventually, as we get closer to midnight tonight, it's all pretty much out of here. So there's the best potential for thunderstorms in the higher elevations. Temperatures in the valley, mid-90s, give or take, just depending on where you are. Upper 90s for the north end of the valley, low 90s for places like Oroville and Willows, and even Chico, for example. But looking at that 7-day forecast, starting off with the valley, temperatures for Redding, upper 90s for the next 7 days on average. For Red Bluff, probably somewhere in the mid to upper 90s for your daytime highs. And for Chico, you're looking at temperatures generally in the mid 90s. So really all in all, keeping those temperatures mainly around or just below normal for this time of the year. The coast, you're going to be looking at mostly cloudy skies, of course, the fog and the drizzle, especially in the morning hours. Inland areas, I'm keeping it dry. Some forecast models indicate that, yeah, maybe some of those showers today and thunderstorms could just clip the extreme northeastern portions of Humboldt and maybe parts of Del Norte County as well, but otherwise mainly dry. And then off and on chances for thunderstorms really for everyone else in the mountains, including Trinity County, all the way through the weekend, but it's really not until early next week that we may finally break away from that potential for those thunderstorms. So obviously not very good news there, but eventually, hopefully, we can start to kind of break away from that overall pattern. Hey, by the way, you can watch Weather NorCal on your smart TV. Yeah, do you have a smart TV? Most likely you've got YouTube associated with it, and all you have to do, search for Weather NorCal, subscribe to the Weather NorCal YouTube channel while you're at it, but you can watch the 24-hour channel there, and you can also watch any of the latest updates as well. All right, let's get you into your fire weather forecast sponsored by Garmin's Tractor Service. And we're going to start off by taking a look at the radar and what the thunderstorm activity looked like yesterday. And you can clearly see a lot of lightning strikes that we did see off to the east here. Again, we'll take another look at that loop here, and you can see as we take you through yesterday afternoon, there are those thunderstorms that really a lot of lightning strikes making its way into Siskiyou County. Not so much, and as expected, we didn't see as much, if anything, really for the Trinity County area. So yes, those thunderstorms were quite strong, and we could be looking at another repeat of that here for today. So let's talk about the fires here real quickly here. There's not a whole lot new to report with these. We're seeing overall not much in the overall acreage as far as them growing, but we are seeing the containment grow here over 24-hour periods. The green fire, as of yesterday evening, 86% contained, no new growth. So the acreage has pretty much stayed the same here over the last 24 hours. Now we take you out to the Butler fire, and this is the latest fire perimeter here. You can see the south end of the fire. There was some most recent activity about 6 to 12 hours ago. This is about 12 to 24 hours old, so really not a lot of recent activity here. As of yesterday evening, has grown a little bit to 21,045 acres, now up to 50% containment. We've also seen some of the evacuation orders get downgraded to evacuation warnings. So again, the firefighters are getting more confidence in some of these areas that did have the orders, that they can now lift those and put those in the evacuation warning. So good, we're seeing this bigger and this getting smaller, and eventually we want to start seeing this get smaller as well. And we also want to see that containment get bigger, and that's most likely going to happen over the next few days. There's been no new information coming in from the Summit fires since July 21st. As of that report, it was 701 acres at 90% containment. Most likely just not a whole lot going on with that fire. All right, let's take a look at the smoke. And there's really not a lot of smoke or haze to talk about. I mean, look at the Butler fire. It is barely producing much in the way of smoke here for today or even tomorrow, which means, yeah, there may be a little bit of haze out in the vicinity of where the fire is, but outside of that, there's not going to be a lot of areas that are going to be dealing with really bad air quality. There again, you can see even going into tomorrow, it just barely shifts a little bit off to the east in the form of maybe some haze. By the way, if you want to check out the latest on the fires here, you can always go to weathernorcal.com, click on that fire danger section, and it'll give you all the information you need for those current fires that are out there. Let's take a look at the winds. As you can see here, the wind forecast is showing that they're going to be a little breezy out there for today, 15, 16, even over 20 miles per hour, generated by the thunderstorms. We've got some gusty winds for some of the higher elevations today, and that'll be the case again tomorrow. Now, the winds die down tomorrow morning, but they pick back up again tomorrow afternoon. Not so much for the valley. Shouldn't be too bad. Generally around 15 to 20 miles per hour there, but there you can see some of the thunderstorms and some of the stronger gusts that will be associated with that. So typically with the thunderstorms, it's not just the dry lightning strikes that we've got to be concerned about, but it's also those gusty erratic winds should these thunderstorms develop near or around the fires. Yeah, it's good to get a thunderstorm over a fire and get that rain, but the winds associated with that don't help matters at all, despite the fact that it might be raining on it. Also, with all of that being said, there is a red flag warning for today through this evening for Trinity County, Siskiyou, Modoc County. It also does include extreme southeastern portions of Del Norte and northeastern Humboldt. So there is a slight chance that parts of extreme eastern Del Norte and even northeastern Humboldt County could see a stray shower thunderstorm. So I would say even places like Hoopa, Orleans, for example, and we can't forget about Willow Creek, maybe getting caught up in a little bit of that thunderstorm activity as well. But most of the activity, I think, will be east of those areas. Let's take a look at that fire weather risk. You can see we're in that moderate to high range here, indicated by the orange here. So that's what we're looking at here for today. Nothing unusual, nothing to be terribly concerned about, and it's really the same situation as we take you into your Thursday. All right, now let's get into that tsunami warning. So this is the latest. If you watched my live update this morning, this warning did go all the way down past Eureka. Now they've updated it, they've changed it, and it's mainly the warning for the coast of Del Norte County here. Here are some of the maxed confirmed heights that we've seen here as of about 4 o'clock this morning coming in from the National Weather Service. Crescent City has seen a max wave height of 3.6 feet. Humboldt Bay about 1.2. Now, as I'm reporting this, these numbers will change. They could get higher, they could be a little bit lower. But you get the idea. That's what we've seen as of about 4 o'clock this morning. And just to kind of give you an idea, a warning, a tsunami warning, is the worst of the categories. That means Move to higher ground. You need to go to your safe space and stay there until this is lifted. Now, there is also, for other areas outside of Del Norte County, because they've got the tsunami warning, there are tsunami advisories for the rest of the North Coast, including Humboldt County, northward into Oregon as well, and of course southward into really all of the coast of California, all the way southward into Southern California as well. What an advisory means is you need to stay out of the water, stay away from the beaches, because, yeah, those waves are going to be erratic and it's going to be very difficult to predict what they're doing. So it's going to be unsafe to be in the water and on the beaches here in those advisory areas and, of course, in the warning areas. Bottom line with the warning areas, don't even go down to the water. Don't even go near the water to observe it, because it can be very dangerous in those warning areas. So what caused all this? Well, there's a very large earthquake off the coast here of Russia. Now latest confirmed was 8.8, very large earthquake. That occurred yesterday afternoon, and the waves eventually moved their way. Now, there are the reports of the flooding areas around Japan, also flooding areas in parts of Hawaii as well. So, of course, it goes to show that we are seeing those elevated wave heights along the coast here of both Humboldt and Del Norte counties, but it's a little bit more extreme out towards Del Norte County. So, tsunami. What forms a tsunami? What is the reason for it? Well, you have plate B, for example, riding over plate A. What that does is that lifts. So you get that displacement of the water, that energy moves northward, and you see these ripples in the water. That is the beginning formation of the tsunami. So what happens is, as those ripples of waves, which are big, it's a lot of energy, they're moving very quickly across the ocean. What happens initially is this. You start to see a series of waves building. All right, and keep in mind, it's a series of waves, not just one wave, but a series of waves. So when that first one approaches, what happens is you start to see that water begin to recede. So a lot of people who live on the ocean, they go, wow, that's really receding a lot. So that is the first sign of that tsunami wave approaching. Then, right before it inundates any of the areas here, you see the waves get larger near the coast as energy is forced upwards. So it recedes. Then you start to see those waves really get larger here as they get closer to the coast. And then as it does inundate the area, multiple waves will crash on shore and spread well inland. Now, the key here is multiple waves. A tsunami is not just one big wave and you're done with. Tsunamis can threaten areas as long as upwards of 36 hours. So this is not just a threat today, but it'll be a threat even into tomorrow and into the first part in the beginning of August. So just be aware of that. And sometimes that first wave is not the biggest one. You can get a bigger one coming in behind that. So we are at that stage now where we've got the series of waves heading our way, and we have to be alert and aware of the conditions as they could get worse. Now, if you live in that area, if you live along the coast here and you're in a safe spot, right, and you can see what's going on, you have images, you have photos, you have videos, you can share them from the free Weather NorCal app. I'd like you to share those for me. That can really help me also get an idea with what we're dealing with and looking at here. All you have to do is just go to the bottom of the app, scroll to the bottom, click Share Your Photos, and it'll just give you all the instructions. As long as you have the photo there on your phone, it's really simple and easy to do. So I encourage you to do that, and it would be, of course, a big help for me as well. So I'd really appreciate that. All right, so here's the big picture. Let's kind of break away from that now, just kind of get into the big picture of what's going on. Still have this swirling area of low pressure. This is something I've been talking about this week so far, and we'll continue to talk about because it's not moving anywhere. Now, that's a big help because the heat that's over the desert Southwest, it's built over us. At least the center of it's still off to our east, but the heat associated with it is spreading it in Northern California, and that's why it's been warmer this week. We're also seeing that monsoon moisture move in as a result, feeling a little bit more muggy than we're used to as well. But that heat is there, but it can't expand anymore, meaning the temperatures can't go up anymore, because this right here is preventing that from happening. As long as that's there, that should help to keep our temperatures down at least around normal for this time of the year. Now, the Storm Prediction Center, as I mentioned this earlier, I think it has a little bit too far to the west. I think it's mainly going to be in the mountains. Now, the thing is, it's showing it in the valley. I will say this, you think about last week where we did see that nice lightning show in the Reading area, not out of the question for us to see another lightning show either this evening or even tomorrow evening. Right? We could see some thunderstorms develop for parts of the valley here in the next 24 to even 48 hours, but mainly in the late afternoon to early evening hours. The other concern here is dry lightning, and as you can see here, yeah, the Storm Prediction Center putting in that chance for that dry lightning. Going to do it all over again tomorrow. Most of the dry lightning, at least based on this, is up to the north, but there will be a potential for dry lightning anywhere those thunderstorms develop. Let's do it all over again on Friday as well. This is going to be an off and on event all the way through most likely the weekend in the mountains in particular. So let's take a look at our in-house forecast model. I'm seeing this here through midday. Now this might be overdoing it, but there may be some showers here through the morning into midday as the service pushes on through. Maybe even a few isolated thunderstorms. So that's where we could see some of those showers just east of the valley. Then you can see as we go into 3 p.m. today, thunderstorms are beginning to develop, pretty strong ones too. We could see some severe thunderstorm warnings at this point and some of the showers here just to the east of the valley. Now, as we go into the afternoon, some of those could work their way down into the valley. So if you see a stray shower by mid to late afternoon in the valley, don't be surprised. 6 p.m. Today, there you can see some stronger thunderstorms up to the north, little stray thunderstorm developing. So this is what I was talking about. This doesn't mean this is going to be the exact location, but there may be enough instability, especially for the north end of the valley around Reading, between Reading and Red Bluff, maybe a potential thunderstorm, maybe some lightning strikes. Could be interesting. Something worth watching here as we go through the day today and into the evening. By the time we get into 10 o'clock tonight, it's beginning to wrap itself up. That's typical. The energy from the daytime heating of the day, that will be gone, and then of course we see things kind of quiet down. So we start off with a quiet morning on Thursday, midday tomorrow. Let's do it all over again. You see how we're starting to see those thunderstorms begin to pop up? That continues through mid-afternoon. Now see how it's getting close to the valley. Could see a stray shower thunderstorm late afternoon, early evening for the north end of the valley for your Thursday afternoon. By Thursday night, 10 o'clock, it's pretty much out of here. And it looks like we can do it all over again on Friday as well. Here's Friday around midday. That's as far as this model goes for your morning update at least. I do have more recent data or later data for Krueger's Quickcast, for Coffee with Krueger, that is, and that'll take you to Friday afternoon. But what we'll see here for Friday afternoon is more thunderstorms developing in the higher elevations once again for your Friday. Now, this long-range forecast model not as aggressive as the European forecast model, but I do think Saturday, Sunday will be a chance for some isolated showers and thunderstorms in the mountains. And then as we go into Monday, let's take a look at Monday. Monday afternoon, yeah, now we're done with it. And I think that'll be the case as we go into Tuesday of next week as well. All right, switching gears now, let's talk about the temperatures. Yeah, they've been warmer, you've noticed it, but it's been right around or just below normal. And that's what we've got here when we look at that extended outlook. But take a look at this. This is the area of low pressure that I was talking about that's helping to prevent this heat from building in even stronger. So yeah, that's why our temperatures are near normal. We take into Thursday and Friday. You see how that just stays put? Not going anywhere. This heat can't build any more to the west, so as a result, we keep our temperatures the same through Friday, about the same. They kind of vary a little bit here and there. Now, a piece of energy will break off from that area of low pressure, and we may actually see temperatures drop more by Sunday into Monday as this trough of low pressure begins to develop. Now that is going to help to drop our temperatures down just a tad. Then that moves on out. And as we go through next week, what's going to happen is this, and I'm beginning to see signs of this in the long-range forecast models, that we will start to see signs of a bigger heat wave heading our way near the end of next week into that next weekend. Because what's happening is this heat still stays put because we've got the storm systems right into our north, but we've got heat building in from the south, more coming in from the west. So the combination of all of these areas of high pressure and the bubbles of heat is all going to join forces and eventually will give us some bigger heat than we've seen for a while in the longer range. I mean, we're talking August 7th through the 4th through the 13th. We could be looking at those warmer than normal conditions. So finally breaking away from this cooler trend. But you look at the 10-day trend, we're still right around normal for this time of the year, at least for the Reading area, over the next 10 days. So again, it's going to be a while before we actually maybe start seeing that bigger heat wave move in, if it should materialize, because now we're getting out past 10 days and things can happen. A lot of things can happen between now and then. Looks like we finally broke that trend of actually below normal temperatures. And we were below normal actually, but near normal. So you can still see that will probably be the trend. We're either going to see blue or these gray boxes for the rest of this week and through the upcoming weekend, making for an unusually cool, if you will, month of July. And I don't think I hear anybody complaining about that. All right, let's take a look at your lake levels, that is here. And there you can see here, still, I look at that historical average. We're still keeping those above 100% for all of the lakes in the area. Great news. That's just beautiful. We got a lot of water in those lakes. All right, those wave heights, as you can see here, really, this is not going to take into a whole lot of account with the tsunami. So really, that's not going to be a very good, accurate representation. But taking a look at those winds, they're from the northwest at about 10 to 15 knots. Waves from the northwest at 4 feet at about 5 seconds. And of course, the alerts, there are none, at least in the ocean, but it's the coast, right? The tsunami warnings, the advisories that we do have out there. All right, so let's take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. There it is. Chances for thunderstorms, even for Trinity County, most likely through the weekend. Now, many areas, I think Saturday may see a bit of a break before we maybe see another round of thunderstorms on Sunday. Now, for the north coast, I think it'll be mainly dry, minus some of that morning drizzle we could see along the coast. Otherwise, inland areas mainly dry. Now, today, Orleans, Hoopa, Willow Creek, all of these areas have the potential for some of that activity to the east of us, to the east of you, that is, to maybe roll on into or make its way as far west as those areas. Otherwise, it's dry. But Siskiyou County, everyone has at least the chance for thunderstorms. And that continues through the weekend. This looks really ominous, doesn't it? That's because it kind of is. Because every single afternoon, we've got that potential for thunderstorms. Same situation for Modoc County. Temperatures staying somewhere in the mid-80s, give or take. Eastern mountains, chance for thunderstorms for the weekend. That chance diminishes by early next week. For the valley, now we're not seeing those thunderstorms. It's mainly in the mountains. However, that being said, for the north end of the valley, that may be a little bit of a different story. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But looking at Chico, you've got mid-90s on average. Mainly sunny skies. Nothing too terribly unusual for this time of the year. Now, we head up to the north. Now, could places like Redding, Anderson, Cottonwood, Palisadro, City of Shasta Lake, Whiskeytown, Old Shasta, some of these areas here, and maybe even as far south as Red Bluff, could see a stray shower or thunderstorm, especially off to the west of I-5 here, but some areas maybe even east as well. Now, it's going to be few and far between if it even happens, but just don't want you to be caught off guard because you think about the light show that you saw last week. It's not out of the question to see another light show. Maybe not to that same extent, but maybe another type of light show that we could see here either this evening or tomorrow, or both nights. We'll see. But temperatures, as you can see here, are going to be mainly in the upper 90s for the valley. There's that little slight dip in the temperatures by the end of the weekend and possibly even into early next week. All right, that is your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for your latest forecast. Until then, have a great morning.
Construction season is well underway in the North State, and we'd like to remind drivers to slow down around work zones. Keep Caltrans workers safe when they're on the job, and remember to be work zone alert when you see the color orange. Remember to pay attention to signs, merge early, avoid distractions, and don't speed. This message is brought to you by Caltrans District 2.